here is a little sequence for you. Let's begin. Enjoy.
I was just going to start first here. The knees are a little bit open and you have the hands on the shins. So there's a little bit of length in the lower back. And then if you are okay in the back, you can start to bring the thighs towards the floor for a little bit more stretch in the back. And while you're holding the legs, you really want to press so that you're rolling the shoulder blades down, so that you can kind of lift the shoulder blades up or the shoulders up and then really roll them down the spine. So you're actually using some arm strength here. Now bring the legs down sort of so the pelvis is on the floor, and we're just gonna go to legs wide and have the hands on the inner thighs. Now we used to do this in the gym with our legs to the wall. So in a way I've had to modify a lot of things since I haven't been teaching with the wall here, but so you don't want to drop the toes, you want to keep the toe as if you were sitting. You want to keep the toes up and not, you're not rotating the thighs. You're just opening the inner thighs. So it's just an inner thigh stretch. And using the hands, you can maybe, I'm going to scoot over a little bit so I don't knock my screen down. Using the hands, you can use some pressure to open that. And then see if you can feel widening in your spine on the floor. And then slowly bend the knees back in and place the feet on the floor. And either have the hands down, or you can start with the interlocking the fingers under the head. You can bend the knees into the chest. Extend the legs up. Exhale, bend the knees. Softening the feet down to the floor. So you're really using that core support here to engage the legs, extend through the heels, waking up the abdominals. And what's useful too is that as you wake up the abdominals, your core support is what's going to help in yoga poses. If you want to bring the arms overhead for more intensity, you can do that. You can also have the palms up to the sky or ceiling, or you can turn them to face each other as the arms are overhead. And then do two more like that. And then bring the feet down, hands down, just for a couple of breaths. You can press into the heels and shake out the pelvis if you'd like. And then again, you can choose where you want the arms for the next one. So you can either interlock the fingers again or bring them overhead or just have them down. So we're going to inhale the knees to the chest, extend the feet up to the ceiling. Then you're going to open wide and you're going to lower them down. If you want more intensity, you hover the heels to the floor when you bring the legs together. And then you inhale it up. So you exhale the legs open as you bring them down to the floor. Then you bring the feet together and you inhale up. Exhale as you open, bringing the feet down, and then inhale up. Exhale, open, bring them down, and inhale up. Now we'll go the opposite direction where you have straight legs. Exhale down, then you open the legs wide, and you bring them up. And then when you get to the top, you bring the feet together so that you can exhale down and hover. If you can't do that, you can always just bring them halfway down, open them wide, and then bring them up. So you can modify this pose, whatever works for you. Exhale down, really press through the heels, open the legs wide, bring them up, back together. One more, exhale down, open wide, inhale up, bring them back together, and then just bend the knees, feet on the floor. You can press up and just shake out the pelvis. And then roll to your side and come up. Come to all fours, and when you tuck the toes under, we will again lift the pelvis up, walking the hands forward, and bring the chest towards the floor. It may not get there, so we're creating length in the lower back, but you're bringing the chest to the floor. And then walk the hands back under. And then we'll just do a little cat and dog tilt where we roll the spine and the cat. Inhale, coming into dog tilt. And exhale, rounding into cat. Inhale, coming to dog. Exhale to cat. Inhale to dog. And then come back to the neutral spine and bring the big toes together, knees wide. Again, you can walk the hands forward so you can really lengthen by bringing those sit bones towards the heels and get more stretch through the armpits, through the arms. And then inhale up to all fours, and then we'll tuck the toes under and go into a downward facing dog. And go ahead and find a little bit of walking through the legs to begin to open up. You can also shift the pelvis a little bit, just to get some stretch in the outer, the side waist and through the hips. And then go ahead and straighten the legs, but if you want a little more intensity, you can bend the knees, press the armpits towards the thighs, and then straighten the legs again. And then again, come down into big toes together, knees wide. And then again, inhale to all fours. Tuck the toes under, come into a downward facing dog. And you often have to sort of walk the hands out or the feet back to find that sweet spot we were talking about the other day of what works for you in downward dog, where you're not misaligning the rib cage, or where you're really working the feet, the legs, the tops of the thighs here. And then slowly walk the hands and the feet towards each other. And you can just, bend through the knees a little bit and just shake out the head. And then if it feels right to you, you can walk the hands up the legs as you roll up the spine, or you could just roll up the spine so that the last thing to come up is your head on top. And we'll stand in the middle of the mat with the legs wide. And just lift the toes for a second to get those insteps working. See if you can engage the legs and then slowly soften the toes. So see if you can feel from the heel bone that there's a connection all the way from that heel bone up into that sits bone. Those sits bones are what you sit on when we do seated poses. So see if you can feel if that's engaged. And then we'll interlock the fingers. Just remember which finger you placed on top and press them forward, and then inhale overhead. Really lengthening through the arms, getting a stretch through the wrist, through the fingers, through the hands. And then you're just gonna release the fingers and just let the arms float down. See if you can just feel that lightness floating through the arms, that they're almost weightless. And then we'll try it on the other grip. So remembering which grip you had. Sometimes I forget even. And press the hands forward so they're right at your shoulder length, so you can try and really engage the arms here so the inner elbows face each other. And then slowly lift them overhead and see if you can feel how strong and connected your feet are to the floor and your legs through the pelvis all the way up the palms of the hands. A couple of breaths here. And then see if you can, again, release the fingers and allow the arms to just float down. So there is a lightness in those arms. And then, because we don't do this very often, but we probably should, just take a few minutes to just lift the shoulders to the ears, drop them down, lift the shoulders to the ears, and drop them down. And then just bring the arms up and around. So we've done this with the belt, where you can really get a good stretch. And then you can go the other way, coming forward. And just notice if one side is moving more easily than the other, but it's just a good way of noticing what's going on through the shoulder girdle. And then bring the hands up, elbows up. We're going to step, or you can jump wide. So if you jump, you want to bend the knees, jumping wide, so the knees are still bent, and then straighten the legs and see if you can feel that firmness in the body here. And I'll do a mirror image. So take the left leg toe to heel, right leg heel to toe, and then really reach out that right side. So you're really still engaging those abdominals, and you're trying to bring the side body equally down, and the hand can go on the thigh or it can go on the shin, and the top arm comes up. And if you're okay in the head and neck, you really engage those abdominals as you start to turn and look up. It's almost a little sort of micro twist here. Couple of breaths here. And then inhale, slowly come up. Both feet are wide. And you can really work the arms here, but really relax the shoulders. See if you can feel the triceps lifting, but that the shoulder blades are softening. And then we'll take the right foot toe to heel, left foot heel to toe. And then you're really pressing through those feet, working those legs, reaching that right arm, left arm, down to the thigh or the shin. And the top arm can come up. And here's where you engage those abdominals and that little twist where the last bit is looking up to the top hand. But if your neck is not good, you can keep the head looking forward, or if you need to, you could just look down at the bottom foot too. So there's always a variation in the pose for whatever's going on with your body today. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring those feet parallel, and just take a notice. See if the toes are forward or if they're a little bit out, because you want them forward at the very least, and so that the feet are parallel. And then you can jump or step into Tadasana. So, and have a couple of breaths here. See if you can find those heel bones again, connecting into the sits bone, and really feeling how the legs support you and that the arms can have some lightness to them. And then inhale, bring those hands over your chest. So you're not lifting them above your shoulders, you're keeping them at shoulder height or maybe a little bit lower. And then again, we'll bend the legs and jump wide. And stand in legs wide for a minute. So really feel how the legs working here. So that's the outer legs are really engaged here. And then we'll take that left foot toe to heel, right foot heel to toe. This time we'll bend deep and go into Parsvakonasana. So you can stay here with the arm down. You can either lift it up or you can bring it up and over. And that brings into that line from the right foot out the right fingertips. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel, and then take that right foot toe to heel, left foot heel to toe, bending deeply into the thigh. The forearm is on the thigh and the arm can be down. You can really work here just on the leg support, or you can lift the arms straight up and feel that connection into the abdominals, or up and over and get that connection from the right foot all the way out the right fingertips. And then slowly come up, bring those arms up, feet parallel, and then you can either step
or jump back into Tadasana. I think I brought my arms in a different way. There's always different ways to play with the arms, as far as if you want to jump, but you want to jump with, softness, and with that. In ballet, it would be called the plie, because if we jump straight-legged and land, we lose that cushioning, that rebound effect in the body. So that's a little lecture about jumping. So again, standing in Tadasana, feeling power through the feet and the legs, and then bringing those hands in front, and then jumping way wide. Now we're going to pivot around into triangle. So we're just going to briefly go into the triangle pose. And then this will be a challenge. If you have a block, it's nice for the hand. If not, bend the right leg as you bring that left leg in. So you've got the weight on the left leg. If you can, straighten the left leg or right leg and really press through the top leg. And then bend the front leg. Whoops, I'm gonna fall down now. Move the back leg and come into triangle pose. And this is something I learned when I went to the Iyengar Center in Encinitas, California. And inhale, slowly come up. And I really like that way of going in and out of the pose. That gave me some heat in the body. So we'll turn to the other side, probably getting my legs mixed up. We'll first go into triangle. And then as you bend the front leg, you inch the back leg in. And then you slowly lift the back leg up, and it helps straighten the underneath leg. You press through that foot. And then you bend the front leg and inch that leg back so you can come into a wider triangle pose. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet wide. Now, the next pose, there's a couple of ways to do this. So just check your feet out, make sure that they're parallel to the outer edges of your mat. We'll start with our hands on our hips, and you're just gonna lift the chest up, looking up to the ceiling or the sky, and then you're gonna start to come forward. Now the first part is if you can put your hands down below the shoulders, you can do that. If you can, you can take blocks for your hands, which is very nice too. Or if you're really challenged, this is where a chair can come in handy, because you can put your head on a chair. So there's many ways to use props, but if you have managed to get your hands on the floor, you can just stay here a few breaths to get the body used to this. And you're really engaging those outer thighs from the outer foot into the outer hips here. And then if you want to go further, you just walk the hands towards the feet and the head goes towards the floor. And then you can inhale, coming back here, keeping the hands there. Now, this is going to be an interesting, I hadn't really thought about this before I started teaching, but see if you can find your way with legs wide to come down and sit with legs wide. Like you can take the hands back and slowly come down to sitting. If that's impossible, then just find your way down. So there's, you know, many ways to go in. And I'm going to move the chair out so it's there. But one of the first things you can do to get more inner thigh stretch is have the hands behind you, and you can kind of lift up a little bit and see if you get more stretch in the inner thighs. This is good to practice against a wall sometimes, where you have the wall there and you can have the feet on the wall. So that's kind of a nice thing, is there, that. And then see if you can sit here with the legs wide. If it's too challenging, you can always bring the legs closer together. In fact, you can sit like this. Or if you need a little more support, this is where the blanket or sitting on a block comes in handy. When you raise up like this, you may not be able to get the whole back of your legs on the floor, but it will help you sit vertically instead of leaning back. So that's the advantage of having these extra little props around. And like I said, so much in your house can be used as a yoga prop. You don't need to purchase things, but you know, after you get doing yoga for a while, you do like having real belts and things like that. So once you've found your comfort level, the first thing we're going to do is just walk the hands a little forward if you can. Again, this is also a nice place to have blocks. It's also a nice place if you need a chair. What's good about yoga chairs is they're easily movable. So like this is nice. When I used to travel, this is one of the poses in the sequence, especially like with your head on the chair for, oh yeah, I can show you with the bolster too. There's a whole sequence that's really good for disrupted rhythms, and so this pose is one of them. So once you're here for a few breaths, you just notice how the inner thighs are feeling. If you're feeling like the legs are starting to open a bit, maybe the back is going a bit, and you know, you can slowly walk the hands forward. You don't have to bring the forehead to the floor. You can just, you know, start with the hands higher, a couple of breaths, then you can walk them a little bit more forward and a couple of breaths. So that's the way to try to get the body accustomed to this. And you know, once you start to bring the hands forward, then you can really start to focus on, am I really pressing the backs of my legs to the floor? Because you'll find, oh, the knees will go up. So you really press through those heels, and then maybe you can go a little bit further. And then if you go further, you can start to soften the forehead. Well, either way, you can just soften the forehead down. So no matter what level you're at, even if you're up here, you can start to soften that forehead. And a couple of breaths here. And I'm just going to show you, so you can stay in that stretch where a large bolster
is really nice for this pose too, because you can just hang out here.
So that's just another option. And then inhale, slowly come up, and just as you're bringing the legs to each other, just start to shake them out a little bit. You can shake it out from the pelvis, because that might feel a little bit like, whoo! I don't really know what it might feel like now. But just shaking them out, just in case you're feeling a little bit wonky after that. And then we'll come down on our back and have a nice little twist. So come down on your back and then bring your knees up. And if you have your blanket nearby or a block, you can just come into support, or you can slowly start to bring the knees down to the floor. See if you can reach the floor. Maybe put the other hand on top. And then slowly bring those knees up. And you might need to readjust in the center of your mat and then drop the knees to the other side. And of course, if you need support under them, you can put your blanket, your block, your whatever you need, your pillow. You can either keep your head in neutral or you can look at the opposite hand. So depending on your head and neck. And then slowly come up and set yourself up for whatever kind of shavasana you would like. If you have the chair handy, you can always bring the legs on the chair or put something under your pelvis for a little bit of the legs higher than the heart. Or you can do feet up the wall if you have that in your location. Or you can just do plain old shavasana with the legs down, but you can also put something under your knees if you need to release the lower back. So everybody's going to be different. I don't want people to suffer. I want people to be comfortable in their shavasana. If you want to release your shoulders a little bit, you can always press the elbows in, roll the shoulders underneath, and then release the shoulders and then put the arms down. That can be a really nice way of softening through the shoulder blades. I used to have a teacher who went around and slid her hands under your shoulder blades, and that she just slid them out and down. And oh man, did that feel good, because it's amazing how much we hold in those shoulders and in those shoulder blades. So wherever you are, find your way to just put as much, feel as much of your backside of your body that is touching the floor. See if you can feel yourself spreading even more. And you're breath is becoming quiet. And see if you can pay attention to your toes. And see if all 10 of your toes can just soften, feeling spaciousness in each of the toe joints. And then see if you can feel some of the little bones in your feet. See if you can feel that softening on the tops of the feet and in the insteps. And then see if you can feel into your ankles and your heel bones. Feel softening in the ankles and the heel bones. And then into your lower leg. You've got your shins and your calf muscles. See if you can feel that soften. And if it doesn't soften, if you find yourself challenged in any place in the body, don't judge yourself. Just notice it and be curious. Just notice why that part is, oh, okay, so you're like this today. And then moving into your knees, see if you can feel the front and the side and the back and all the cartilage in your knee just softening. And then moving into your upper legs. See if you can feel the long femur bone, and so the hamstrings and I just had a blank about the muscle on the front of the thigh. It'll come to me. Anyway, feel those muscles softening. Quadricep, there you go. Quadricep and hamstrings are softening. And then as you move into the thigh socket and the pelvis, see if you can feel all the bones around the pelvis soften. And behind the pelvis, there's the sacroiliac joint. See if you can feel that softening. And then moving into the rib cage, see if you can feel all the ribs are softening. The sternum area softens. And the collarbones are softening. And behind the collarbones, the shoulder blades are softening. And then the upper arms, you've got the biceps, triceps, deltoids.
softening. And then see if you can feel those bony bits in the elbow soften. And there's the forearm softening. And then your wrist has a lot of little bones in it. See if you can feel all those little nooks and crannies in there softening. And then the palms and the back of your hands and fingers, there's lots of little joints in there, little bones. See if you can feel all of those softening. And then your throat softens, back of the neck is softening. And see if you can feel the base of the head and the bones in the skull start to soften. So that your forehead softens, your cheeks soften, your jaw softens, and your chin is softening. And again, if there's a place in your body that has a bit of a niggle or doesn't seem to want to soften, just notice that, just appreciate that. And be curious. And then slowly begin to deepen your breathing. Bring a little bit of movement to your fingers and toes. You can do a bit of a stretch as you slowly roll over. And as you're coming up to sitting, just remember, like a river, you return to the source. Just like a river, you return to the source. And then thank you for being here. Namaste. Have a beautiful day. And hope this practice was useful.